I have always been a man of discipline. My life was measured, structured, and carefully planned, like the notes of a song that could never go off key. From the time I was young, I knew the value of hard work and order. I studied with focus, built a career with relentless determination, and convinced myself that love, marriage, and all those things people seem to lose themselves in, well, they weren't for me. It wasn't that I didn't believe in them, I just didn't have time. While my friends stumbled in and out of relationships, while they debated over heartbreaks or anniversaries, I buried myself in deadlines, projects, and long nights at the office. Love, it was a distraction. Marriage, that was for another life, one where I wasn't consumed by ambition. And then, one day, Sonali, a dear friend from college, called me. She was getting married. Not in some banquet hall, not in a city hotel, but on a beautiful beach with the sea as her witness. Come, she had said with her usual cheer, I want you there. It won't feel complete without you. I agreed without thinking twice. Maybe because I owed her friendship that much. Maybe because, in truth, I was tired of the endless loop of work, home, sleep. A wedding on the beach sounded like a break, even if only for a weekend. A change of scenery, a chance to breathe. And so, I packed my bags, boarded a flight, and found myself surrounded by the salty breeze, the soft stretch of sand, and the glow of fairy lights wrapped around palm trees. The wedding was grand, yet simple, exactly Sonali's style. There was laughter in the air, music spilling from speakers, and flowers everywhere. It was the kind of scene people capture for postcards. I was happy for her, truly. Watching her stand by her partner, radiant in her joy, I couldn't help but smile. Yet, even amidst the celebration, I did what I always did, stayed a little to the side, clapped politely, congratulated when needed, and then retreated quietly. And that's when I saw her. She wasn't part of the dancing crowd. She stood slightly away, her hands folded, her expression tense. A woman with striking features, though not in the obvious sense. There was something subtle about her beauty, something grounded. Her eyes, however, betrayed nerves. They darted around as if searching for answers no one else could give. I wondered if she was part of the bride's family, maybe a cousin, maybe a guest who didn't know many people. I was about to look away when, to my surprise, she began walking toward me. Excuse me, she said softly, her voice carrying a mix of hesitation and urgency. You were at our wedding ceremony, weren't you? I blinked, caught off guard. Our wedding? No, this is Sonali's wedding. I am her friend. Her brows furrowed, and a flicker of panic crossed her face. Sonali? She repeated. But this is my wedding ceremony. I stared at her, utterly confused. What? No, this is Sonali's wedding, too. She cut me off, her voice rising just a little. There's been some mistake. She paused, glancing around as if the words were too strange to believe. We've been registered as married. What? I said again, louder this time. My chest tightened, my thoughts scattering. Married? To her? To a stranger, whose name I didn't even know. Her name, as it turned out, was Nandita. And as unbelievable as it sounded, she was telling the truth. Somewhere between the paperwork, the registry, and the fact that Sonali's name had an uncanny resemblance to hers, a mistake had been made. Our names, mine and Nandita's, had collided on official documents. By the time the registrar realized, it was too late. Legally, on paper, we were married. It was absurd, comical, even a clerical error, the kind you hear about but never expect to live through. At first, we were both horrified. I remember standing with her, explaining to the officials, our voices overlapping. This is wrong. It's a mix-up. Please fix it. They apologized profusely, promised corrections, reassured us it was not irreversible. But what struck me most was Nandita herself. Amidst the chaos, she wasn't dramatic. She wasn't angry or loud. She was composed, though I could see the worry in her eyes. She kept tucking her hair behind her ear, fidgeting slightly, as if trying to hold herself steady in the face of this ridiculous situation. And somehow, that steadiness drew me in. We began talking, at first because we had two meetings with the registrar, clarifying details, filling new forms. But slowly, those conversations shifted. They no longer ended when the paperwork did. She told me about her life, how she was fiercely independent, managing her own career, her own world. She wasn't waiting for someone to complete her, but she admitted she sometimes felt lonely in the quiet of her evenings. I told her about myself, about my relentless discipline, my devotion to work, and how love had never found its way into my schedule. She laughed when I said that, shaking her head. You don't schedule love, it just happens. And somehow I laughed too. With her, things felt lighter, natural, unforced. We met again, even after the papers were sorted out. At first, it was under the pretense of following up on the situation, but gradually, it became more than that. A coffee here, a walk there. She lived not too far from me, which made it easy to bump into each other, or maybe we chose to bump into each other. The more I knew her, the more I realized how much we shared. Our conversations stretched endlessly, from trivial things like our favorite foods to deeper confessions about dreams, fears, and regrets. With her, I didn't feel the need to be perfect or disciplined. I could admit when I was tired, when I doubted myself, when I longed for something I couldn't name. And in turn, she let me into her vulnerabilities, showing me the parts of herself she rarely revealed. We were not supposed to be anything. We were an error, a bureaucratic mishap, but somewhere in the middle of that mistake, we found each other. Months passed, and our bond grew stronger. What started as shared laughter over a ridiculous accident turned into something profound, a friendship, a companionship, and eventually something we couldn't deny anymore. One evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon, painting the sky with shades of fire, she looked at me and said, "Do you ever think maybe this wasn't a mistake? Maybe it was meant to happen?" Her words hung in the air, heavy yet tender. My heart raced, and I realized what I hadn't dared to admit, that I wanted her in my life, not because of the accident, but in spite of it. Because with her, life felt more alive, more real. I reached for her hand, trembling slightly. "Maybe you're right. Maybe the mistake was the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me." She smiled then, a smile so genuine, so warm, that I knew my disciplined life had finally found its missing piece. We married again, properly this time. A small ceremony, just close friends and family. Nothing grand. It wasn't about extravagance. It was about us, about claiming what fate had accidentally handed us and choosing it wholeheartedly. Standing there, saying vows I never thought I'd say, I realized that sometimes life doesn't follow the plans we make. Sometimes it writes its own story with twists we cannot foresee. Looking back, I know I would have never chosen her path, never walked into her life on my own. But life chose for me, in the strangest way possible. A clerical error, a mix-up of names, and suddenly I had met the person who made me believe in love. Today, when I think about it, I smile. All my life, I avoided distractions, kept my head down, focused only on the straight road ahead. And yet, it was in the detour, in the mistake, that I found what I didn't even know I was searching for. Nandita and I often joke about it now, telling friends, we got married by mistake before we chose to get married for real. But deep inside, we know it wasn't really a mistake. Sometimes, life disguises destiny as error, and when your heart is open enough, even the wrong turn can lead you exactly where you belong.